Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and welcome back to Run8 Train Simulator. Today, we're in Birmingham, Alabama on the new NS AGS South region, also known as the Gulf Coast region. Now, while this region is focused on NS operations, we're going to be running BNSF ops today and taking the BNSF transfer job from East Thomas Yard over to the NS 32nd Street Yard. At 32nd Street, we'll deliver a cut of cars for Norfolk Southern and then return to East Thomas with any cars bound for the BNSF. Enjoy the ride. Let's get this one started. Welcome to the AGS South region, also known as the Gulf Coast region, a fully focused Norfolk Southern region similar to that of Pennsylvania. And what better way to run on this fully focused NS region for the first time than by running a BNSF train? Yeah, that makes total sense, but that's what we're doing today. We are going to be running the BNSF transfer job from East Thomas Yard over to 32nd Street Yard, specifically the north side of 32nd Street Yard, where we'll be handing off a cut of cars to the Norfolk Southern and then picking up any cars and bringing them back to East Thomas Yard that are bound for the BNSF. We've got about 2,400 feet of cars behind us and about 4,000 tons behind us as well. And we have 3 SD45s for power today. And on top of that, we've got some former Santa Fe units for power. So a nice little bit of color in the consist. The train's already powered up. We're ready to go here. So all we need to do is jump on board. So we'll go ahead and do that since this train has already departed East Thomas. We'll go ahead and jump on in. And as you can see, we are powered up already. Our gen switches are up and running. I did leave the gauge lights and the panel lights off since it is daytime and we're going to be running in the day. We've got our platform lights off and everything else is up and running. So we are good to go, and the EOT device is attached as well. As you can see, everything is up and running on the back. So all that's left to do is a quick brake test. I'm going to turn on the upper left tab. We'll go ahead and release the brakes. Make sure they come all the way up to 90. There we go, they've come up to 89, that's close enough. We'll go ahead and reset the brakes back down to 84. There we go, the brakes are responding, so we have a good brake test. Now this trip today is being done in single player. This is my single player Gulf Coast region, so you're not going to be seeing any players other than me running around on the map, but you are going to be seeing other AI trains and stuff like that. The world may look a little bit empty. There probably won't be many cars in any industries or anything like that because I just got this single player region started, so you'll see a lot of empty industries and empty yards, but that will be getting worked on as time progresses. But because this is single player, this means we are going to be using AI dispatching for the first time, which means it is time for me to introduce you to everyone's favorite. Sometimes he does a fantastic job, sometimes he needs to find a new job because he has no idea what he is doing. AI dispatcher, Otto. Otto is Run8's AI dispatcher that runs the entire dispatching for you in single player, so you don't have to worry about lining trains to certain places and having to worry about all of that. In a coding standpoint, Otto is fantastic, and it's really impressive that we have this in Run8, that Otto can just dispatch trains to various points on the map and send them the correct direction. The devs, however, have stated that Otto is not perfect. If you send too many AI trains into your region, Otto may end up getting confused and having problems lining trains around each other, and you might get a very big backup of traffic in one area, and you'll have to delete some trains to start moving all the other AI trains. So don't send too many trains into your single player region. We don't have many going around our region right now. You can see there's not much going on, but Otto is moving all of this around. There are a few things you'll have to do on top of Otto. One is sometimes you'll have to line yourself into a yard. Otto doesn't know how to line trains into every single yard on different regions. And the other big thing that you will have to do is edit the train route file in the Run8 folder to make sure your trains are going the correct direction. I'll talk about that a little later in the video. But for the most part, Otto is a great addition in single player, so you don't have to look at all the other trains and make sure they're going the right way. That being said, Otto does tend to have a mind of his own. He tends to just randomly send you in and out of sidings, randomly cross over to one track and then back over to another track for no reason. And Otto's favorite thing to do, that I've noticed, is prioritize random trains for no random reason. I could have the slowest, lowest priority freight train on the region, and Otto will prioritize that over 2 high priority Z trains and 1 Amtrak train. I think like 30-40 minutes ago, Amtrak went through Birmingham, and Otto had Amtrak sit for about 30-40 minutes while he sent 4 freight trains through. So Otto does prioritize trains in an interesting way and his own way, but hypothetically, you will get lined eventually to your destination. You might just have a large amount of grumpy passengers behind you for being delayed upwards of 1+ hours. Or you might have a grumpy train crew because you are sitting at a signal short of your yard for 2 to 3 hours, but Otto will move you eventually. Hypothetically. Possibly. Maybe. Okay, truthfully, Otto may never move your train again when you get stopped at a red signal, but we are running with Otto today in single player, so that'll be a lot of fun. Otto is also the reason that I am using a unique train symbol today. If you look in the West End District side of the map, you'll see we're sitting here as train T01. That is not a correct train symbol. The real train symbol for this train would have probably been TBIRNSI, something along those lines. Basically a BNSF symbol that you see on BNSF trains. But in order to make sure Otto lines us correctly into the 32nd Street yard, which is over here, we do have this symbol just so Otto recognizes what train we are and will not get confused, because Otto gets confused very easily sometimes. But with that, we are ready to go. We are ready to head off of the BNSF connector onto the West End District. So now it is time to call Otto up. So I'm going to go ahead and come over to our radio panel, press DTMF. We're going to press the specific code we need to use to tone up Otto and let him know we are here, and that is on this section of track, star 801. It should beep here in a second. There's the beep. And there's Otto. It says Otto DS answering block 2. Now what we can do is we can either request the signal, which is what I'm going to do. You can also request relinquish mainline authority if you're setting out cars on the main line, or you can request the next siding. We're just going to request the signal. Otto should acknowledge. There he goes, 10-4, BNSF 6458. And we should get a signal. Yep, we just switched over to our signal. And it says BNSF 6458, proceed on signal indication. And with that, we are ready to go. We'll go ahead and get the reverser to forward. Release the brakes, get the headlights on. Throttle up 1 notch. Let people know we're moving. Start release the locomotive brakes. Put up to notch 2 just to make sure we don't roll backwards. And there we go. We are on the move. There's the EOT beep. The whole train is now moving. And we are on our way to 32nd Street. So as we start the trip today up to 32nd Street, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the new Gulf Coast region. This region released back in December of 2024. It's the newest region in the Run8 network. As I did mention, it is focused specifically on Norfolk Southern, but there are a few little extra lines here and there from different railroads. We're of course on the BNSF one. There is a section of CSX that cuts through Birmingham. There's also a few short lines here and there, such as the Alabama Southern, I believe, that is down near Tuscaloosa. As far as the main section of track goes, the line runs from just north of Birmingham, Alabama, near Irondale, Alabama, where the NS Norris Yard is. Oh, we're coming up to a yellow signal here, so I'll start slowing down. So the line starts near Irondale, Alabama, near Norris Yard, which is the main yard for this region. Each region kind of has a major yard that the region revolves around, so that would be Norris Yard for this one. The line then goes south through Birmingham and continues on down all the way to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It is a short region. There's less than 100 miles of road running, but in addition to that road running, there is also a lot of locals you can run. There's a lot of these transfer jobs you can run. You've got Norris Yard. You can do a lot of yard work. And then you can also run a lot of different types of road trains. There's unit trains, there's mixed freights, there's Amtrak runs through here, there's intermodal ops, so there's a lot of different things you can do. So while it is a shorter region compared to like the Southwest region or the A-Line, there is still a lot to do in this region. There are plans to extend this region south to Meridian, Mississippi. This part of the region is called AGS South Phase 1. And AGS South Phase 2 will take the route down to Meridian, Mississippi, so more track mileage when that releases in the future. But so far for what we have, this is a great region. I've had a lot of fun on it. If you do want to check out this route, it is on Run8's website. I do have the Run8 website link in the description below if you want to check this out. It's $40 like all the other main Run8 routes if you want to pick it up. And yes, we are stopped at a red signal. Auto is doing auto things right now, so we are stopped at a red signal at 2nd Street. Why? That's a very good question. I'm not sure. We will find out. Oh, that's why. There's a CSX train going through on the CSX line. That explains why we are waiting here. So once they pass, we should get our light into 32nd. Side note with regards to that CSX train, that train is traveling on the CSX Lineville subdivision, and the Lineville subdivision goes east towards Georgia and eventually connects up to the CSX Fitzgerald subdivision, which, if that route sounds familiar to all of you, that is because the Fitzgerald sub is part of the A-Line Southeast region. So there is a chance that way down the road, we might have this region connected to the Southeast region if the Lineville sub is built. So I'd love to see that. Might see it in the future. We'll see. That's up to the developers, but I am sure they are well aware that they are within one subdivision of connecting these two regions. And with that, now we wait. Yay, we have a green signal, which means we can move again. Go ahead and turn the upper left bar on again, release the brakes. And we'll continue on to 32nd Street. As we come through downtown Birmingham, we're crossing over the CSX here. And then downtown Birmingham is over in that direction. And then we are now joining the AGS South from the West End District. We also are at restricted speeds because we've already passed the signal to enter 32nd Street Yard, so that's why I'm down at 15 miles an hour. Also, tip, if you are running on this line, the reason I have this bar open at the top left, normally I don't have this open, is because Norfolk Southern does not have any speed boards on this route. There's no speed boards on the route. There's no speed boards in the maps. And that apparently is in real life. NS actually does this in real life. They don't have any speed boards. The crews just, when they get qualified on the route, they know where to slow down and speed up. So that's why I have this open, so I can see what my speed is, and I can also see, if I go a couple tabs over, what the current speed limit is for that section of track. And with that, we have entered 32nd Street North Yard. There are two sides of this yard. The South Yard is used by a NS local that serves the area around downtown Birmingham. And then the North Yard is where BNSF hands off their cars to the NS to continue to Norris Yard. All right, we'll go ahead and bring the train up to the switch here. All right, we're looking good. We'll go ahead and bring the train to a stop. And there we go. We made it to 32nd Street Yard, where we'll drop off these cars. Doesn't look like we have anything to take back with us to East Thomas, so all we'll do is just run light power back to the BNSF yard. And if anyone's wondering what a light power move is, basically, it's just when you run with locomotives in your consist, you're not carrying any freight behind you. Alright, so now we can start prepping this train for the return back to East Thomas. First thing we need to do is switch locomotives. We're going to be obviously going back the way we came, so I'm actually going to need to switch locomotives at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the reverser to neutral. We're going to go ahead and set the parking brake. I'm going to release all brakes. Parking brake will hold us. This might be a fictional way to do this, but this is just the way I do it. With all the brakes released, the headlights are off. Now the headlights are off. We can go ahead and jump outside of the locomotive, walk to the third motor. We'll click it. Click set as lead unit. And now we can jump on that third motor. We'll get everything set up again. And we'll be using this locomotive now instead of the one that we used when we came into 32nd Street. We'll go ahead and jump on. And you can see everything else is the exact same. So the locomotive is prepped. We'll go ahead and reset the brakes. Set them from this end. And we are now facing the right direction. Now we just need to detach from this cut of cars. We'll run around the cut and we'll head back to East Thomas. So now we can jump off. And I'll come over to the coupler here. We'll leave this angle cock open. We'll go ahead and close this one. That's all looking good. We'll go ahead and disconnect the air hoses. And there we go. All the air has been cleared out of the cars. We're going to do one extra thing that I haven't done in the past that I probably should be doing as an extra safety precaution. We're going to apply some handbrakes on this cut of cars as well. If you click a car, you'll notice it says handbrake released. In addition to clearing the air out of the air hoses, you do want to set some handbrakes on your cut of cars that you're leaving behind, just to make sure the train isn't going to roll away. There isn't too steep of a grade here. It's not too bad. I think it's 0.2% downhill grade, so we don't need too many handbrakes, but it's better to have a few extra in here just to make sure your train doesn't roll down the hill. You really do want to add a lot of handbrakes if you're parking a cut of cars, say, on Tehachapi Pass, where it's a 2% downhill grade or something like that. So we'll set a couple of handbrakes on here. You just press the handbrake. Now it's applied. Do it for a couple of cars here. There's 2, 3, 4. I'll only put 4 on here. It's not, again, a super steep grade. You can do 6, you can do 10. It's really up to you. You don't need to do the whole entire train, just enough that it'll hold the train in place. So we've set a few handbrakes, so that's good. We can come back to the coupler knuckles here. We can go ahead and open the couplers. And then we can go ahead and move the train forward. We'll go ahead and set the throttle to reverse now because we are in this cab controlling. So we'll set it to reverse, release the brakes, throttle up, and there we go. We'll set some brakes again. And there we go. We have our cut delivered to 32nd Street. And like I said, NS will come and eventually pick this up and bring it over to Norris to be classified. So now what we have to do is head back to East Thomas. So we have to throw a couple of switches to get around this train that we just dropped off. So I'll come all the way down here to the switch. There's a couple switches I'm actually going to want to throw here, so we'll throw this switch first because we'll just come on the track to the right of the cars we dropped off, so we'll just go down this track here. And then I need to throw this switch as well. Here we are. Go ahead and throw this switch. And there we go. Now we can bring the power down here and start running around the cut we dropped off. All right, there we go. Power's clear of the cut. We can go ahead and throw the switch. Get us on the right track out of here. And with that switch thrown, we're going to go ahead and jump on the side of our locomotive. And we'll ride this to the end, since we do have to pick up one thing before we leave here, and that is the EOT device. So we will set this to forward. Release our locomotive brakes. I've only got locomotive brakes set right now since we don't have any freight behind us. We'll take it forward. And we're off to the other side of the yard. All right, here's the end of our train that we brought into 32nd Street, so we'll go ahead and bring the train to a stop here. There's an intermodal also passing us right now, heading towards Irondale, and I believe this train is going towards Atlanta. Okay, so let's grab that EOT device before we leave, and then we can head on back to BNSF territory. We'll go ahead and, it doesn't really matter if that angle cock's open or closed, there's no air running through the train, but we'll go ahead and remove the EOT. That comes with us. Perfect. And now we can head back into our train and get ready to depart. And now that we're ready to leave, it's time for us to call Otto again and see if Otto will be nice to us. Otto was actually pretty nice to us coming into 32nd Street, so maybe Otto will be nice to us again heading back to East Thomas Yard. Now before we leave, this is a great time to talk about the train routing XML files within the Run8 folder and how to use them to make sure Otto routes your trains correctly. Each route has a train routing XML file in it that has a bunch of different junctions throughout the route that trains can take. This is one of them up here, which is the 27th Street junction to the NS West End district. When you go into the train routing XML file, there will be a list of all different kinds of junctions. You're going to look for the junction you want to edit. In this case, I would be looking for the route that says 27th Street to NS West End district, or something like that. When I find that specific line, or that specific junction, I will enter my train symbol in next to that line that I want to take the West End district. In this case, it's T01. Once I've added that in, I can download the XML file, place it into the AGS South route folder. It'll override the old train routing XML file. And now, when I relaunch the sim, Otto will know that when I call for a signal as T01, Otto will know that this train needs to go to the West End. If I hadn't changed that train routing XML file, Otto would have just sent me off to the AGS South. It takes a lot of practice. It might sound confusing, but once you start looking at the XML files, it does make a lot more sense. If you do want a tutorial video about how to edit the XML files, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. But that's just roughly the gist of how you can make sure that Auto will line your trains correctly to various parts of the map, and you're not going to go off to some random place that this train should not be going to. All right, so now we're ready to go. Let's call up Auto. I do need to get the correct radio tone so Auto does answer. A radio code, for those who do not know, is basically the specific code that you'll use to tone up the dispatcher, and basically it'll tell the dispatcher, hey, you're toning up from this part of the route, and so that way they can key up to the closest radio antenna to you, and that way you'll be able to hear the dispatcher. If I toned up with the Tuscaloosa radio tone, the dispatcher would answer that Tuscaloosa radio tone, but we wouldn't be able to hear them up here in Birmingham because that radio is too far away from us. So I need the correct tone, which up here is, it's 803. So like I said, 801 is what we used when we called Auto up at the beginning of this trip. That's because that radio is the West End channel. But now we need 803 since we're up by the 32nd Street Yard. So we'll call him up. There's the acknowledged tone. There we go, answering 27th Street. We'd like to request a signal. I can't get you a lineup right now. That's not good. What do you mean you can't get me a lineup right now? Alright, guess we're waiting here for a minute. Oh, there we go. BNSF 6504, proceed on signal indication. Okay, Auto just decided to make me sit here for like 2 minutes for no random reason because no trains have passed, so yep, Auto's just being Auto. Alright, we'll turn on the upper left tab so I can see how fast I need to go. Reverser is already set to forward. Get the headlights to full. Go ahead and release the brakes. And here we go. Back to East Thomas we go. So if you've watched this entire video and you're thinking, how is BNSF out in Alabama? Doesn't BNSF run on the west side of the country? Well, that is true. Most BNSF lines are west of sort of Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, that corridor, basically west of the Mississippi, and then Norfolk Southern and CSX run east of the Mississippi. But there are some rare occasions where BNSF will make it to the east side of the country and CSX and NS will make it a little bit farther to the west side of the country. This is one of those cases where BNSF makes it all the way out to Birmingham. They do have a line out to Birmingham, and BNSF has a yard out here, and they hand off cars to NS like we've done, and they do work some industries of their own. So, while yes, BNSF does run west of the Mississippi for the most part, there is some track that BNSF does have east of the Mississippi as well. Also, if anyone thinks Alabama is flat, it is not flat. As you see, we are on a downhill 1.1% grade right now, so there are a lot of hills in Alabama, and you do see this as well in the southeast region in Georgia and Florida as well. But here we come, end of the west end. We're heading back onto the BNSF connector track. And that will be it for this trip. And here we come to the end of the map. There's the signal we started at earlier. So as soon as we pass that signal, we'll go ahead and delete the train. We'll go ahead and jump out now. And you can see we can't go any farther. Track just goes off to the end of the map. And there we go, we passed the signal. Go ahead and delete the train. And there we go, we have successfully brought the train back to, quote unquote, we brought it back to East Thomas Yard. Since it's off the map, we have brought the train as far as we can. And the job is complete. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content coming in the future. We've got some more Run8 videos that'll be coming out soon. For you flight sim enthusiasts, we do have some more flight sim videos coming out soon as well. And we're also going to be jumping back into the game side of the channel. We've got some new game videos, not train sim and flight sim, coming out soon as well. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.